Hello, Irish fans. Welcome to another edition of Dome and Domer, the oldest Notre Dame football podcast on the planet. Joining me, Mike Coffey from ndnation.com. Ed's taking the day off. All right, Coffey. So we didn't talk yet about the Florida State game. I mean, it pretty much was what we thought it was going to be. I think we thought there was going to be some garbage points, but even that didn't materialize. So give credit to Marcus Freeman and the staff in terms of being well prepared for that game. They did have an extra week off, which is always nice.
Hmm.
But they really came out and kind of took care of business quickly. Um, the atmosphere overall, my kids ended up going to the game, and they told me it was pretty electric. They thought it was pretty cool. A lot of
Hmm.
a lot of memorable moments. But it was a huge recruiting weekend for us. So I mean, from that standpoint, it couldn't have gone better. I know we picked up two recruits from them, but still working on Derek Meadows and a few others, but
Hmm.
overall, a pretty good showing for Notre Dame in terms of the night game.
True. I think it did well. It's hard to complain about a 52-3 win, but you never really got the sense that the offense was comfortable. I mean, and maybe they were due for an iffy game or something like that. The defense definitely came to play almost from the beginning. It was a typical uh, performance that we've seen so far this season. You have uh, the first drive, they seemed to move the Florida State seemed to move the ball well, and then every drive after that just about was just
Yeah,
the defense hammering them
that
again and
is
again
kind of
and again.
interesting.
And
I'm glad you brought this up because I was going to get to this point, and I'm sure a lot of people are thinking like, God, how can you not be happy with 52-3? Here's the thing: I saw the same exact thing you saw, but it may be a little bit more specific. And I will, but prior to that, let me just mention this because I think it's really good for people to maybe try this every once in a while. I actually listened to the press conference. I don't always listen to the press conference, but I did this time around.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you what's encouraging is I think Marcus Freeman is saying all the right things. So just to give a specific example, a reporter asked them, "Hey, with the way you guys played so well last time against Navy, are you just trying to replicate that going into this game?" And Freeman immediately pounced on that and said, "Hey, look, the second you start trying to replicate what you did, you're in a bad spot. You want to continually improve upon what it is that you're doing because you're never going to achieve perfection, but you're always chasing that. And anytime you let up on chasing perfection, you're in trouble. You're not going to perform at the level that you want to perform at." So I thought it was a great point. In the post game press conference, one of the reporters asked him, "Hey, man, wasn't that great? You guys pounded them 52-3. Is there anything better you could have done?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're going to look at every single play. We're going to go back to the
Oh,
film,
no doubt.
and what they're going to find is what you just mentioned. The offense was not actually clicking. I mean, and I don't want to pick on Riley Leonard, but you know what? His accuracy wasn't there like it was in
No,
the
it
Navy
really
game.
wasn't.
He missed some throws and missed guys wide open.
Hmm.
He missed the open first read. I don't know if you remember, but even the announcers kind of jumped on it because Denbrock was on the sideline. And he's like,
Kind of
"Look, Mitchell
chewing them
Evans,
out,
that's
which
what we
which
want
you
to get the
should.
ball
I
to."
mean, that's and
So, I mean, these are the kinds
it
of things that are going to happen. But, as we are looking forward into the future and going into the playoffs, this is where you need to prove upon if you're going to, make a big run.
no doubt. And I think just the lack of accuracy was concerning, I suppose. I mean, it shows how
A little
much
bit.
Florida State has packed it in we were still able to score 52 points, even given the fact that Riley Leonard wasn't his best quarterback self that day. I mean, there were some plays that you saw that worked well, like the motioning the tight end back into the line and then having him provide like a ceiling block to let the running back go off left. Got a bunch of great yardage out of that play in the first half. Well, then in the second half, they obviously they talked about it in the locker room because it didn't do nearly as well. But I like the fact, I suppose, that Leonard is trying to expand his repertoire. We're seeing longer throws. Uh, some of them are hitting, a lot of them aren't. It's I don't know. It concerns me that when the level of defense it comes up again, as it will as we progress through the season and hopefully get in the playoffs, that is that going to work as well? I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
at this point, Mike Denbrock should be formulating his game plans around plays he knows Leonard can execute, because these are not opportunities to something like pull plays out of the woodwork and ask Leonard to do something that, not necessarily that he can't, but that he's not very good at. I mean,
right.
at this point, there needs to be like a core group that says, okay, we have these, let's say, dozen plays. We know Leonard is good at them, and then spend the practices either getting him better at more plays or refining the ones that he can do. But we got to
Well,
make sure that
yeah, no, I'm
there's.
with you there. I do think there is a little bit of those strategy going on here where we're holding back on some stuff. And I think the things that we're probably holding back on is where our strengths are with Riley Leonard, just as you said. And for me, I think it's the RPOs. I think there's going to be, when we get into the playoffs, you're going to see some wrinkles thrown in there on some RPO reads that'll
Mhm.
probably be in some unique formations that we haven't shown yet. And because I think that's where the real strength of the Notre Dame offense is. Yeah, Riley Leonard's not the elite thrower that Ewers is at Texas, or
Mhm.
Beck, and even Beck struggling a little bit at Georgia. But
Mhm.
regardless, the kid at Ole Miss. I mean, those are guys that throw the football at like a 70% completion rate, or Oregon for that matter.
Mhm.
That's not Riley Leonard. But what Riley Leonard brings to the table that those guys don't is he's an absolute elite runner, and he showed it on that first touchdown. I mean, that
Oh,
that
sure, no doubt.
that a lot of quarterbacks can't do what he just did. And so therein lies the advantage that we've got as an offense, is to utilize Riley Leonard to take advantage of that running capability that he has, full well knowing that he's going to take hits, he's going to get physical, he's going to get beat up, which clearly impacts that touch, that ability to throw touch
Mhm.
passes. You can't get beat up half the game and then throw touch passes in the fourth quarter with
No
expecting him to
doubt.
be as accurate as 70%. I mean, that's just not going to happen. But
No,
what
I
you
agree
can
with
do
that.
is create these opportunities for these RPOs, where that is where we're dangerous as an offense.
Well, the other area I think they need to take advantage of is the area that Leonard's legs give us, but not necessarily his ability as a runner, but as a threat as a runner. Because while he's back in the pocket, you have linebackers back there who can't sell out on coverage, because the minute they take those 2 steps back, Leonard can take
Yep.
off and pick up
Yeah.
8, 12 yards or whatever. So the uncertainty in that zone that starts at about 6 to 7 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, it maybe goes out to like the 15 or 20. They need to take advantage of that a little bit better. Or at the very least, Leonard needs to know my ability to run, my showing that I might run is going to create enough uncertainty in that area for defenders that more gaps will open up, more guys may pop open, or I might need to throw some guys open because guys are like right there. If I start towards the line of scrimmage and the linebacker comes up right over the head, and
Yeah.
now there's an open guy.
Yeah. And I think Riley Leonard is also making good decisions in terms of when he tucks in and runs. I mean, he made some really, really good um, on the spot. I mean, almost like right at the perfect moment, he took off,
Mhm.
and it was like he couldn't have planned anything better than he did. So he's getting really good at that. And so I think that again, as long as he continues with that, that'll kind of offset some of these inaccurate throws that seem to pop up every now and then. But it's going to get, as as you get into the playoffs and everything, it's going to get more critical. Um,
Sure.
I guess, the other thing that I did notice in the game that I think is a really good sign, and I'm not picking on this kid at all, but Jalen Sneed has really come a long way in the last 3 weeks. And I don't know if you remember, but kind of earlier in the year, he was not pouting, but, just disappointed that he wasn't getting as many snaps as he kind of thought.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's always a huge challenge on the coaching staff, is, all right, how do we keep this kid engaged? How do we, when you start to see that dissension start to happen where guys start to,
Mhm.
it's a real challenge on the coaching staff. And I give a lot of credit to Marcus Freeman. I think they've done a really good job with this, really
Well,
doing whatever they
it's
can.
it's also hard, as you said, to strike that balance, because if you see him starting to become less engaged, you don't want to cater to bad behavior. If he's sitting on the sideline
Yeah.
pounding, so well, we got to play him more so he doesn't pout. That's not the solution. The solution
No, no,
is
no,
to
no,
get
no. But
the kid to really lock
Yeah.
in. And it does seem like he's a lot more
Oh,
locked in than he was
he's
earlier in the
playing lights
season.
out right now. He's really playing well. And he's not the only guy. There's other guys that have kind of stepped up in a big
Hmm.
way. And I think that's all part of, keeping the team in this cohesive, togetherness in light of the NIL world that we live in now,
Oh,
which is just,
absolutely.
it's rearing its ugly head. I think everything that we were afraid of was going to happen is starting to happen right now. Michigan now going after a kid, offering him 10.5 million bucks. I mean, that is just
Yeah, but
out of
I
control.
I wonder how sustainable that is because yeah, you can offer a kid 10 million bucks and if he takes it, that's fine. But a there's a set amount of NIL dollars out there. I mean, no one is made of money. Now, granted, Phil Knight might be or Portnoy might be, but there's only so many dollars that can be thrown at this. And the people you are getting to making the contributions, I think we talked about this in a previous week. What's their return on investment? You offer a kid $10 million and he busts, then the next time you come to him, hey, we need $6 million for this kid. Well, you asked me for 10 for this guy, and he was terrible.
Yeah.
And so, I
Yep.
mean, I think the
Yeah. I just,
market's eventually going to sort itself out. It almost has to because this whole free agency every year thing cannot
it's
be
crazy.
sustained.
No, it
There's
can't.
going to be some kind of a market established, some kind of rules established. Then I find myself wondering, are we just going to go back to the old days of, yeah, these players are getting paid, but now there's bagmen sneaking around
Yep.
from the car
Yep.
dealerships in Alabama throwing money
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. It's a little concerning. I've been nervous about this for a while. I'm kind of probably a glass half empty guy when I look at college football and where it's going to
Yeah,
be. Because I think in 3 years from now, it's going to be a totally different world than what we're seeing today.
true.
But on the good news front, we are first time for a 12-team playoff, which I think is going to create a lot of excitement for college football. I think we're right in the thick of it. And, the way we're playing and the way that we've been excelling on a week to week basis is all heading in the right direction.
Mhm.
I expect more of that this Saturday. I kind of feel like Notre Dame's in a really good spot at the moment. You'd hate to think, but have to be like a huge all of a sudden letdown for us to walk into that game and struggle. Um,
Mhm.
but every game is an opportunity, and every game is exactly what Marcus Freeman said, an opportunity to reach perfection. And as long as he's continuing down that path and not distracted, we got signing day coming up. We had the big recruiting weekend. We got guys that we're chasing at the moment. There's all these distractions with that added to it, the playoffs, this last home game that
Mhm.
we've got technically at Notre Dame Stadium. And, all of this kind of plays in. You just hate to see them skip up now in light of all the momentum they got building.
Well, it's interesting when you look at how these last four games have set up, and it certainly didn't look this way at the beginning of the season. You have Florida State, then Virginia, then Army, then Southern Cal. Ostensibly, we started with the easiest game because you have a team that in Florida State that, while talented, they're poorly coached and they pretty much packed it up for the season. Now you have a team like Virginia, not as talented, probably better coached. I must confess I don't know a heck of a lot about them. I think I'm a little concerned about the upset at Pitt last week, though apparently Pitt's starting quarterback got knocked out. Maybe that contributed. Then you have a team like Army, undefeated, ranked, not as necessarily physically talented, but they have the coaching and they have the scheme that could probably make things difficult. And then Southern Cal at the end, even though they're not ranked, they're definitely the most talented of all the four teams. They've played well at home. So it's like the degree of difficulty is going up every week. So we're going to take a step
Yeah.
up now from a terrible Florida State team to a decent Virginia team. I mean, they're not ranked. They've given some teams some scares a little bit here and there, but I think this is a good way to say, okay, yeah, you had the easy week, so to speak, last week. Now, uh,
Yeah.
at home, you're going to take on someone tougher. Then away from home, you're going to take on someone tougher. Then in a true road environment, you're going to take on talent wise, the toughest team of these four. So it stacks
Yeah.
up nicely, I think, for a playoff run, again, provided that they get there.
Yep. Yeah. The Army game is going to be a tough one. I mean, as you said, they're not maybe as physically talented, but they are disciplined. They're well coached. They execute. And I watched them in that game. I think they got the ball in the third quarter with like 45 seconds into the quarter, and they went on a drive and ate up the entire third quarter.
Mhm. Well,
literally a 14-minute drive. Unbelievable. And they just grind it out, grind it out, grind it out. And they're so damn disciplined. All it takes is one little miss of an
mhm,
arm tackle, and you just gave up a first down, and here we go again.
yeah,
So that is going to be a huge challenge for us. But part of me is a little bit nervous. There's going to be a little bit of a letdown. You had that big, huge electric atmosphere, all of that stuff, all of
mhm.
the things that kind of jumping in here, and just to me, it kind of sets up for a little bit of a, not that we're going to lose the game. Don't get me, but I know everybody just kind of assumes that, oh, we blew out Florida State, we're going to blow out Virginia.
Yeah,
No, these guys played pretty well against Pittsburgh. They have played, as you said, they've played well against other teams and have given up some late scores that looked on paper like the game was out of hand, but it really wasn't. So I don't know. I'm kind of anticipating a little bit of a bitter struggle for us. For whatever reason, we always come out and give up an early score or give up a lot of. I don't know if we go into like a base. This would be fascinating to find out. But are we intentionally going into like a base formation on defense just to see what they're doing, and then within the first series of the game, we kind of know what they're doing and then we adjust. It's really weird, but we
it
we
is.
tend to
It
give up a
almost
lot of
seems
yards on the
that
first.
that has proven to be the pattern so far. It's the first drive, the opponent's first drive. They seem to give up a lot of yards. They score points, and but then one or two series later, it seems the shutdown arrives,
Yeah,
and no one, and it's happened in just about every game.
it's not just once or twice. But that's just fascinating to me because is that a mentality thing? Like guys are all right. I'm just not
I got to
totally into
think
it, and
it's
then
on
I'm into it,
purpose.
or is it a strategy thing and we
I got to
literally
think
figure it
it's I
out?
got to think it's strategy. I mean,
I kind of
that's
do too. I think maybe our defensive core. Well, look, I'm a huge Golden fan.
oh,
He's another
absolutely, I am
guy
as
you
well.
should listen to on a press conference because he says all the right things too.
Mhm,
Um, so clearly he's a guy that's an elite coordinator. There's no doubt about it.
mhm,
And the defense has shown it all year long. But that's why I don't anticipate any kind of a Northern Illinois loss coming our way. I don't see that at all on Saturday. But I kind of could see, and it wouldn't surprise me if it ends up being a closer, like a little bit more of a struggle for us a bit. Maybe that first half ends up being a little tighter than we like, something like a 17-10,
mhm,
where we just don't feel like we're all the way there yet. But
mhm.
but I don't know. I do think there is going to be some of that coming our way just because it's a 12 game. It's hard to do this in college football to execute at a high level every single game. You're going to
Mhm.
have those days where, like you said, the offense just doesn't seem to click. It's just not there, and we kind of never get there. I mean, I don't know. We're maybe a little bit due for that,
Mhm.
but we'll see. It'll be interesting. So let me pass it to you and give you what your prediction is for Saturday.
Well, in our contest, I said 31-10, it's only because I don't know which Virginia team is going to show up. I hope that Notre Dame's going to handle like the emotion of senior day and stuff like that. And as you said, coming off such a big electric atmosphere last Saturday, well, now it's a day game. Whether it'll be, it's senior day, all the seniors are coming out with their parents and stuff like that. And it seems like it's we're ripe for an upset. But at the same token, I consider us in the playoffs right now. And by that, I mean, these are playoff games for Notre Dame. They lose one more time, they're out. So granted,
Yeah.
they need to play three more playoff games than everybody else, but they need to win these remaining three games to get in. And I think they're going to know that slash remember that. I think Virginia's defense is probably better than Florida State's a little bit, at least from an attention and uh, coaching perspective. So that's why I picked. I'm comfortable with 31-10.
Yeah. Yeah. This is where I think it is going to get a little bit tighter. I don't know. I'm just anticipating a tiny bit of a letdown. And I almost strangely think it'd be a good thing because then I think it does set us up for Army and USC.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the level of attention will pick up.
Mm-hmm.
When you have that scare, you kind of tend to like wake up and really adjust. But
Sure.
I kind of think it's going to be a little bit more of a 27-17 type game where
Mm-hmm.
maybe the offense just doesn't click everywhere where like we think. Maybe there's a turnover, that gives them a short field
Mhm.
that then tightens the game. But I kind of think it's going to be something like that, only because again, it's just a long season. We haven't had like a hiccup like that in a while. And it kind of just feels like, coming off of this, that we might see it. Who knows? I mean, this is the thing about college football. It's so fascinating with the parity that exists. Anything can happen on any
Oh,
given
yeah.
Saturday. But I do like where they're at the moment. I like this football team. I like Marcus Freeman and his staff and what they've done up to this point. There's still three big, huge games to go. Like you say, it's all playoff games because it's all about that. But
Mhm.
Notre Dame wins out, they're in. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, yeah.
I just think that it just comes down to, can we sneak and eke out a home game in that first round? And I think it looks really good for that, just because I think other things are going to pan out for us in the other
Mhm.
games, provided that there's not some big, huge upset, Clemson losing again, but then winning the ACC or something like that.
Yeah.
That's going to make things a bit tougher to eke out that home. But as long as everything else shakes out, we should get a home game in December, which that would be pretty cool. That'd be
I
great for
agree.
this, great for the program, and exciting. Really quick, just on the, only because you're such a big basketball fan, Notre Dame did sign everybody, so that's huge.
Absolutely.
No last minute drama. I mean, we've got one hell of a recruiting class that just came
It's,
in.
yeah, no,
And
definitely.
not only
I
that,
think
but I got a little bit, saw a little bit of the first game, but Notre Dame there's a possibility they could somehow not only upset somebody, but maybe eke its way into the NCAA tournament this year. If they were to do
I
that,
think
man, the amount of
I
excitement.
think they definitely can sneak their way in. I think no one's really going to be paying a lot of attention to them until the tournament, the Vegas tournament,
Yeah,
Thanksgiving week, because you've got first they're going to play Rutgers, who is a like kind of top 25 adjacent. They've got one or two good freshmen playing, and then Houston's the second game, and obviously they're a top five team. We're playing really well. If they could somehow, I mean, I would love to see them beat Rutgers, but if they could, and I know it's highly unlikely. I mean, an upset of someone like Houston on top of the good recruiting class also definitely will get a lot of attention. But I think this class is a very good start. I would love to see not only the class like Harrelson up at the top, outstanding pick. I'm glad we were able to get him. I'm glad that they have the recruiting acumen to sell him on the future of a program like this, but also the guys in like the next level down, so to speak. I mean, these are four top 100 kids. So even if
yeah,
Harrelson plays for a year and then goes, I mean, good on him, I suppose. But then you've still got three guys who are going to contribute for the next X number of years
yep,
to making to making everything to making the team better. So I like the fact that we're building a strong foundation. I think the freshmen this year are going to be contributing by the end of the year. I don't think Marcus Burton's going to have to do as much. It'll be
yeah,
interesting to see how he adjusts from when you're a freshman having to do it all. Now you're a sophomore, you've got more help, you've got more talent. You've been playing a year with a lot of these guys. They went from being one of the lowest teams in returning production to, I think, like the highest in the Power Four conferences. So there's definitely a lot of potential here. We'll see Saturday when they go to Georgetown. I think if they can come away from that game with a win, that's going to say a lot. But we'll see what happens in
yeah,
Vegas, and then we'll see what happens in the ACC.
yeah. Should be interesting. Shrewsbury is a good coach too. I think there's no
No
doubt
doubt.
about that. He's a
No
very
doubt.
good coach.
Mhm.
And I think with that added to it, you're going to see Notre Dame win a few games here that may surprise some people, but it's exciting. I'm looking forward to the season, and
Absolutely.
should be a lot better for sure. Awesome. Good deal. We'll leave it there. You've been listening to Dome and Domer, an online conversation about Notre Dame sports from a fan's perspective. For Mike Coffey, I'm Mike Brammer. Thanks for listening.